Right, we're back. How we doing? How we doing, Carlo?
Hey guys, exciting stuff. Busy week.
Yeah. Very, very busy week for all of us.
Did you miss it? Did you not see Mickey?
Yeah. Well, I saw some stuff. Let me just get this right.
Some stuff.
We had nothing. We had nothing. We had nothing, and then all of a sudden we had spoilers. Spoilers everywhere.
Yeah.
Let me just run through everything.
People everywhere again.
So, if I'm right, tell me if I'm wrong here. We saw Lannister attachments. We saw Stark attachments. We saw Baratheon attachments. We saw Night's Watch attachments.
Yeah.
We'd kind of already seen dragons and mammoths, but they were seen more dragons and more mammoths. Some. Did I see a picture of the models somewhere? I think I saw the back of the boxes. Of some of the dragons. I think someone had a mammoth in hand. I can't remember. Yeah, I've seen Champions of the Stag. I've seen a completely painted Stag Knight Noble or a Dragonstone Noble. Like what?
Whoa!
I've seen literally.
How long somebody had that one for?
I know, right?
Yeah. I tell you what I really liked. I really liked the unboxing of the Champions of the Stag. Yeah. I'm not. At 10 points, I could take or leave them, but those models, they are Baratheon to an absolute point. So yeah, I think they look really good.
They really are. They're like honestly one of the best models I've seen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that's it. I mean, like, I mean, we already knew, but dervishes are out and about as well. So yeah, I mean, like, it's quarter 4. It's all here. By here, I don't mean here. I haven't got any.
We wish.
But people do. So yeah, so it's all there. It's on the builder. We've seen all the rules, and I'm super excited for what it's going to do to the meta, because it's been really static for a long time now. You know, it's been at least 6 months plus where basically nothing has changed.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And it's been a good 6 months, because obviously they've still been releasing a lot of the new content in terms of like the spoilers and things, still been giving us access to stuff. I know in previous videos we have complained about like the speed at which the content comes out and the style in which they release it, but we couldn't, we were complaining because we wanted to know when it hit the table, not because it wasn't coming. We appreciate the rules that they were giving us. We appreciate the look into the future they've always given us. And right now, like, when it's just suddenly, I don't know, it's like someone's just dropped a bomb and gone, oh, all that stuff we said we'd mentioned? Just like, bang, here it is.
Here it is. Here it is. That's all we want to know. Here it is. Yeah. Somebody's got it, then it's not going to be long before other people have got it. And what's going to happen? What do you think? I'm thinking mammoths are big, dragons are huge. I think Night's Watch got a good box. I think there's a lot in there. Lannisters is subtle, and luckily, considering how powerful they are, I don't think the Starks got a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Cranagman Survivalist. Should we go through quickly and go through all the stuff, faction by faction?
Really fast. Really fast.
Yeah. So Lannisters, it's specifically attachments for most of these. We've got, where are we on the builder? Sentinel Enforcer, 1 point, yay, nay?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
No.
Probably
not at the moment. It's not got nowhere good to go.
But it's not a bad ability to give things. It's just not good at the moment.
No, I mean, I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's not worth a point. I just don't want it.
No, you don't.
Like.
Yeah, simple as that.
Exactly.
The Clegane Butcher, 2 points.
Bit of a... Nah.
Yeah, sour taste in the mouth.
Again, so what's weird about the Clegane Butcher is that he doesn't help the unit itself on the charge. It's like has effects on other things around it. Unlike if your charge doesn't kill people, then you'll get attacked back less. But like, his only real place currently that he would ever want to go is Knights of Castle Rock. And really, we're looking at Knights of Castle Rock being something that you want to be able to kill stuff on the charge with. So nah, not going to turn my Knights of Ghastly Rock from 8 points into 10 points for no real benefit.
Yeah.
No immediate benefit.
Chanel's saying, just listening to Francesco there in chat, the Enforcer perhaps fits into a future unit. That would be great. We don't know what that is yet.
Yeah.
We're obviously going to look at it from what we see now.
Definitely considering that he neither his rule nor his aesthetic seems to fit with any unit.
Not really.
That's what's, like, the aesthetic seems to be quite important as well. So, yeah.
Lastly, the Turncoat, which I think everyone's surprised at, is only 1 point, because we all thought it was going to be 2.
Yeah, 1 point. Yes, 1 point. Absolutely. Squeeze one in, maybe 2. I like him. Yeah, he's what salvages the Lannister box into being, this could be big for them. I'm on the fence how big it is, but I think he can have a big effect. Again, we're talking about those Knights of Castle Rock charges. 1 wound can really brings you down from needing to do 12 into doing 11, which actually is quite a big margin. If we're just talking about one-shotting units off the board, 12 down to 11 can be quite a good break point. Add in a token, add in no last stand, no counter charge, or whatever. Actually, I think counter charge still works because you're not targeting that unit. But, add in like none of these defensive cards, and there are a much bigger range of units that you can reliably one-shot.
Yep.
So I think he has a real place. I don't know how much it is yet, but I like him, and I think that he's the most important part for Lannisters.
Yeah, I see this really, as you say, the Baratheon matchup really benefits. This is a good benefit in the Baratheon. And to some extent, some cases of like the odd other matchups in the likes of Lannister mirror matches and things like this.
Yeah, definitely.
Guard
Wealth of the Rock, or things like that. They get rid of all that. Get rid of all that reactionary play that the Lannisters can have against each other, and you're gonna be in the driving seat.
All right, so that's the Lannisters 3 over and done with. We've seen a lot of those before, though. The Stark stuff, it's Sword in the Darkness that denies defensive cards. Yeah, it's almost exactly what it is. The Lannister, the Starks got some really interesting attachments, in my opinion. We got the Mormon veteran, which we've seen, is okay.
No changes to those rules at all. Yeah.
She's perfectly fine.
I believe that's
Mormon veteran. It's a she, isn't it? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I thought you said he.
No,
yeah,
it's a she.
I think it's a lady.
Yeah.
The big bear ladies.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't see her place at the moment. Stocks are so aggressive that they just want to keep being aggressive, and she's very counters of that.
I think this works in like a Tully Shield kind of like defensive Brynden list or something like that. If you were doing that,
could do.
It's hard to see where the win.
The amount of block hits you end up would be huge.
Yeah, auto blocking like 5 hits on 1 rank, and
obscene.
The Winterfell Guardian, though, 1 point for cavalry attachment. Winterfell Guardian with stubborn tenacity, passing panic, D3 wounds. This is well regarded as a 1 point ability. We saw it on one of Jorah's many attachments. I think we see it on someone else as well. It's okay for 1 point.
Yeah.
What I'm glad about this.
I don't know whether or not it in Tully Cavaliers will become a thing, or I don't see it in Outriders. I don't know why I'd want it in my Outriders really. But Tully Cavaliers have some value. You're effectively kind of giving Lannister supremacy-ish kind of thing. You're making Tully Cavaliers now also a bit like Knights of Castle Rock, but you're also making yourself 10 points.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. I don't think it's a game changer, but it's not the worst 1 point you could spend.
What I like about this is it gives it's weird that he resembles the Outriders but fit better into Tully Cav. Agreed, Francesco. What I like about this...
Exactly. His aesthetic looks like he was designed to be in the Outriders, but that doesn't seem like a good tactical fit.
Mm-hmm. I like this because it actually addresses a problem that was basically kind of never mentioned in Starks, because they've never had to suffer from it because they're the main abusers of the things that need this in return, but the auto wound mechanics. This is one of the few auto wound mechanics that Stark actually have access to now, and aside from the go down fighting style, but it fits in with that theme of like the Great John Umber retaliation. You know, if we're dying but not actually fully dying, we're gonna hurt you back, and I like that. I like that mechanic, even if it's not necessarily a very good mechanic, and very powerful.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Like he's fine at one point. I don't think. I'm undecided on. I'm undecided. If you can sneak him in to your Tully Cavaliers, then that seems like that makes the unit harder to pin down, harder to. You're not just going to be able to like swamp them down anymore because they have good morale. They're going to pass a good lot of tests. And if you're going to chip back every time, then you're going to find it harder to surround and bog down those Tully Cav.
I think what it does do as well, it allows the cavalry units, both Outriders and Cavalry Tully Cav, if they don't kill on the charge, it gives them this ability to do this sustained fight, which they suffered from before. All right, though, but moving on to the probably most interesting of the attachments, by far, one of the most... I think this is... Like, if you don't understand the power level of this 2-point attachment, admittedly, he is 2 points, but if you don't understand the power level of this 2-point attachment... He is 2 points. I don't think you understand how...
He brings a lot of good stuff. Like, there are a lot of good keywords, and we're starting to see them more often. That Pathfinder with like, so you can ignore all this negative terrain. I think it's very, very powerful. Obviously, he has the word Crannog. He looks like he's supposed to come with the Crannogmen themselves. That's a movement 7, right? If I'm not wrong, they're movement 6 already. That would become a movement 7 unit that ignores terrain, can move and shoot. Like there are very powerful things there, but we've gone from 5 points to 7 points. That's a huge change. We've gone from being a cheap unit into 7, which is I must be a power play unit, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting. Like, if it was 6, I'd be like, sorry. If he if he was 1 point, I'd be like, oh my god, Crannogs with this guy every day of the week.
Yeah.
But without him, at 7 points, 2 points, we'll see. I don't know if he necessarily has more value than the other Crannogman attachment already. I forget what his name is, but
the Warden.
Yeah, but it's interesting that they brought more Pathfinder into the game at the same time as releasing a unit which is going to have massive amount of stakes put on the board. Like they seem to.
We'll come on to it.
Yeah. So like having played it, like Stark's best way to counter that is already dogs. Like this activation that I can just walk up and destroy the stake is already like a really good way to just ignore that.
What I like about this is that, with the likes of Swift Advance and things like this, this unit is potentially 8 movement infantry units that can ignore terrain, and this is like the like Dothraki level of Unsullied kind of Dany influenced march forward. But it's inherently going to be on a unit.
Well, Francesco makes a good point, which is that like it does seem a bit like overkill. Like Starks already have a ton of cards to do all these things. You don't need to spend more points on doing it.
That's true. That is very true.
Yeah. But I'm glad that the Starks haven't got more things that you're just like, oh my god, like. So
Euron just pointed out a very good thing. Modern dervishes with survivalist 9-point unit. Admittedly, it's a 9-point unit, but actually that's a 9-point unit that might get its worth reward.
They are going to be fast and hard to pin down, and
do D3
can
just
automatically
abuse every time they attack.
Terrain, abuse movement mechanics, abuse all sorts of stuff.
Every time they attack, they do an extra D3
unless you're very, very careful with the offensive.
D3 wounds every time they attack. That's steer. That's steer. On dervishes all the time. I'd do that 100%. I don't know how good it will be though. All right, so that's them done. Night's Watch. The Night's Watch didn't get anything good, did they? Should we just ignore the Night's Watch and just move on?
Nah, it's already been seen.
Yeah.
It's already winning the TSL, isn't it?
Hang on, which is worth talking about? Oh yeah, the Hardened Ranger. This is the one you're talking about, right? This Hardened Ranger. Bushwhack, which we've seen on Outriders.
I think he's quite good.
Elusive Escape.
I mean,
the problem is with him is that for a 2-point attachment, you want to put him in things like Ranger Hunters, and we already see Alistair's Commander version go in there, and actually, it doesn't quite get the same punch. Like it's not doing badly, but it's not doing well either.
Yeah.
And this is a different.
What's funny is that like the one hand giveth while one hand taketh in terms of Elusive Escape is actually, other than the D3 wounds, is already what people thought the Ranger's Swift Strike into shot ability was.
Yes.
So they nerfed it in an FAQ to say, oh, you don't get to shoot before they pivot, even though that is actually the proper order of the way the rules go, which was it would be simultaneous. And I, as the active player, would choose. They said FAQ, no, that's not how it works. And then at the same time is going, oh, but here's an attachment that does it, but you're going to have to pay 2 points for it. So I think that's too much. 10 points for that unit is too much.
Agreed. All right, we'll move on to. Oh, go on. We'll cover him. El Senor. Now, if anyone doesn't know the Senor, Carlo has piloted 3 Senors to quite good success so far. In the Team Super League.
100%.
Place a stake for 1 point once a game. Decent. Is it going well for you? Do you think? Yay or nay?
So I built the list as like a theoretical exercise almost, and kind of like a bit of a, I keep calling it a meme list, as in like, I just thought it'd be an interesting idea and something that I honestly looked at and I thought, I think that can be powerful. I want to test out how powerful it really is. When I built the list, I actually didn't quite realize myself how powerful it was until I started to play it. My assumption upon building the list was that it was an order. When I looked more closely, it's not an order, which is an absolute game changer, because as soon as you start to spam it, you can put them all down at the same time. If they were an order, we'd be limited to 1 a turn, but we're not. So I run a list which has 3 of them in, which at 40 points is not quite full board coverage, but like basically if I place my units well, says that I can protect on any given turn about 100% of my frontage. If you charge me, you must be willing to end up on stakes. There are definite ways around it. There are factions that hate it and factions that just don't care. But I think that he's very, very powerful for 1 point.
Yeah, I agree. And something which we will look at in a second, which is kind of like, to some extent, better. And that is, let's put one of these bad boys in, his modification.
His mod is a brilliant. His mod is so strong. So I think it's significant than Othel's. And Othel's, competitively speaking, we are only ever currently seeing Scorpions fielded when they have Othel's attachment. We never see them without. And when they're fielded, they're not fielded that often. It's not like that's the number 1 Night's Watch build continuously. But point is that when they're fielded, they have it. And I think from now on, when you see Scorpions, they will have one or the other. But I think by majority, they're going to have this one.
So the major difference between this and the power level of Othel's, people compared them and said, oh, it's not that much different. It's not much different. If you don't think it's different, then you don't understand the way the game is functioning at the moment. The way this is different is that it's not an activation. That's important. It's not an activation to do this. You don't waste something doing this for your turn. Like it's not taking the horse and replacing it with attack. It's not, it's this kind of like completely random sporadic thing. And the other thing is, it has literally no prerequisite for when you use this. It's just as simple as, if someone comes in range and stops in range that isn't completing a charge, they get shot. This is incredible
Yeah.
because that means I'm shooting your cavalry as they are trying to charge across the front of me.
Yeah, exactly. So don't forget this can happen on the cavalry maneuver before the charge part, right? Nobody outside of like some combination of ludicrous movement mechanics should ever be able to charge you from outside of 12 inches. So they had to at some point end up within 12 inches of you.
Yep.
Even if we're talking about getting an auto 6 on your charge with a 6-inch movement, you still had to be within 6 inches of me at some point. 12 inches. So that means that I can intercede and shoot. You're talking about, swift advance. Bang. You swift, I shoot you.
Yep.
All these things means that I'm more reliably going to get it off than I am getting charged in the front.
This is exactly
And
stand and shoot.
It allows me to protect other units.
Yes, stand and shoot only protects the Scorpion and is useless if you charge the unit next to Scorpion. Whereas now you can put a small buffer in front of the Scorpion and go, and what? What are you going to do here? You're going to get shot.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So back to that builder list, what I was previously doing was I was shunting the Scorpion further forward than the entire rest of my list, which was difficult because it's slow. It's only got 4 movement, right? Mm-hmm. I was getting the Scorpion out ahead so that then and then placing stakes across the Scorpion itself. So the Scorpion's your best charging option, but you don't want to charge the Scorpion because it will shoot you on the stand and shoot. And I'll protect its flanks with cheap conscripts and stuff like that. But it's much stronger for me to reverse that role. And we have the Scorpion sit just behind the conscripts where it can't be charged. And whenever you try and get anywhere close to the conscripts, I'm just going to shoot you. So I think that it's just a significantly stronger piece for 1 point. You're probably going to run it with offal, so you probably effectively consider buying the builder attacks because you have had to buy 1 builder to get this modification, and you were probably going to run offal anyway, so you already had access to his. But I still think they're both great. I think that they're a big piece for the way that war machines can work in the future for the Night's Watch.
Definitely agree. On to that point, we'll cover the Watch Marshal attachment just very quickly. We'd already seen the Watch Marshal attachment. It had been revealed quite a lot. But he has Quick Fire and Unbreakable Vows for cavalry units, limited to 2 points. Decent. People say there's a lot of combos you could do with this. It makes trackers even better. But...
Yeah. I think he's 2 points is a hard sell. 1 point, he's too good. 2 points, he's a slightly hard sell. Again, that 6 point to 8 point category is a huge change.
But for 3 points, you could have him solo with Follow Me.
3 points solo is huge. I think that he is absolutely everything that the Night's Watch have wanted.
So we already knew what this did. This was revealed by Michael Chanel on one of the many things. He released the card, but we finally found out the point cost. 3 points, and yeah, I agree. It is a game changer for Night's Watch. They can actually run 6 or 7 on-field activations now with conscripts and watch marshals, and actually put really good pressure onto the high activation Stark lists in those ways. Interestingly, he is Jorah level stats in terms of like he's got low armor, 2 wounds, dies to everything, but his morale is better than Jorah's.
1 better morale, right? Jorah's 4/4. For whatever reason, Jorah's more likely to run away from a random crowns test than this guy is.
Yep, and he's got 1 more movement on the Watch Marshal.
He, I think he's very, very, very good. I think that if you're running a combat style list, he will just give you everything you want. He gives you everything you want. Just don't let him get trapped. That's about it. Like, don't let him get trapped, and you're absolutely fine. This guy is killing it. Yeah.
So that's the Watch Marshal. I think that's is game changing for Night's Watch. I really think that Night's Watch are going to get a boost. But saying that,
and they needed it. They've been just like a little bit lackluster for a long time. Like, they're not bad. They're not bad at all. They're just not quite there, but I think they can be now. I think they will. I think they're going to get up there between Watcher on the Wall and all that kind of stuff. I think they're going to be up there in terms of like surprising movement mechanics, distance closing and stuff like that were their big failures before, and now they can run these more powerful units, both with, shall we say, these cheaper activations, but more importantly, they have a way to close the gap and get a charge that previously wasn't available to them. You can get a maneuver with those Swarm Bros, put them into a position where they're just going to slam into something, and that's much, much bigger. Or, those vets might get their value now because you can push them right into your opponent's face where they can't ignore them anymore. All these things, like, they have these great units, but they just weren't being able to utilize them quite well enough, and he does a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
You just missed chat about the new Scorpion mod, which we think is amazing.
Yes. Long story short, top notch. Get one. All right. Yeah. So we'll move on to Free Folk, and it's obligatory War Mammoth time. War Mammoth.
We saw them for quite a few weeks. Some people say they've been testing them. They might be too strong.
Almost certainly.
Maybe. Don't know. They could be too strong. That's more because Free Folk didn't need anything else. They're already very, very strong. We'll see. Oh, I am nervous. I'm a tiny bit nervous about what they'll do to the meta as a whole.
I personally look at these at 6 points and look at Follows a Bone for 6 points and go, unless I was looking for an attachment, unless I really want to feel my commander and it Follows a Bone, why would I ever pick Follows a Bone over a War Mammoth? Nearly any situation.
Internal balance wise, it's a hard sell on Giants, on any of their expensive units that aren't insignificant. Like, they all become like, why not? Yeah, okay, they're limited. You're only allowed 2, but like, Free Folk lists begin with such consistent level of Raider, Trapper. Like, you've already spent an amount of money and board space on and you've only got some left to play with. Throw in some NCUs. You've got what, 12 points left to do something with. Hey, could I want 2 mammoths? Sure, why not? Point is I don't think you'd want a third anyway. But they seem just better than anything else that's not insignificant in the Free Folk.
So someone's saying they should have worse morale. I personally am glad they don't have worse morale, because the problem would be, in some cases, you would run them on turn 1, they'd get crowns bombed, and then they would kill off half a unit on turn 1 by trampling across your own unit, and it would put them out of position as well. So that is an issue. You have to balance off that side of the issue. I'm yet
to see and decide whether or not I think that they will have a negative play experience, because I think that the Free Folk player will effectively expect them to test it.
I'm losing you a bit there.
And opponent, that my only good option is to try and take a punt on you failing a morale test. I'm still just going to be crownsing you whenever, and it's going to become this case of if I crowns you on turn 2, start of turn 2, and you fail your morale check, then you lose, because I'm just going to trample across your whole army, do some wounds, which you don't care loads about, but your mammoth's going to be in a terrible position now. It's going to be behind the rest of your lines. It won't be able to do anything it wanted to do. It will have totally ruined your entire game plan. But if not, I'm just going to have to keep trying to crowns you, and as long as I keep failing, I'm just going to get crushed, and I'm going to have a negative game. So I feel like it could be verging on that, it's too dependent on a single dice roll kind of piece, which we're seeing some of. But we'll see where the stats come out, because I think that theoretical exercises won't really work for this unit. It's too different to the way it really will be used, competitively speaking.
On that note, though, we have the only real other thing that's coming Free Folk way, which is the Walrus Clan Chieftain, which I was speaking to Psychopath. As you'll know, myself and Psychopath are relatively big Free Folk players on the competitive scene. We play a lot of Free Folk, and yeah, we are both in the same boat with the Walrus Clan Chieftain. You know what? He's got a place. It's not a surprise to me that he's 2 points at all. Do I think I'll ever use him? I think in some kind of like very specific meme style, kind of like I want to try a build out style thing.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking for a long time about putting this guy in.
I mean, it's very different to what they currently have.
Yeah, I'd put him in Cave Dwellers because Cave Dwellers aren't going to save any armor saves anyway. You can keep.
At one point, he would be.
That's what I'd do.
Yeah. At one point, it's like too good. It's just you're just going to see him all over the place. Free Folk would suddenly become the most resilient thing you've ever seen. At 2, he's practically doubling the price of half the Free Folk units, and you're still going to fail the panic check. That's where the damage is going to come from. So you might move yourself into a region of not being able to be one shot anymore, but it's a tough sell. I think it's a sad box. I mean, Free Folk should be very pleased with the mammoths. Great models, great box, great value as well. I mean, 2 mammoths in that box. Like I expected there only to be 1 in the mammoth box. 2 mammoths in the box. They be unhappy with quarter 4, but I think you can be a bit disappointed as a Free Folk player with the attachment box itself.
Yeah,
it's 1 new attachment, and he's not very good.
On to the Baratheons then. Actually, quite a lot to talk about with the Baratheons, but we've already been here for 30 minutes, Carlo, so we're gonna have to do it quick. Okay?
Yeah.
Just have yay, nay, good, bad. Leave your juries out. First of all, the solo Dragonstone Noble, probably the one we want to talk about the most, but yay, nay, good, bad, ugly.
Yay. Doesn't solve every problem that the Baratheon Stannis side has, but it's starting to.
Yeah. I would be surprised if this isn't almost auto-include territory, at least on 1 of, maybe even 2 of, in every single Stannis side Baratheon list. Okay, so that is the solo Dragonstone Noble. We've then got, attachment-wise, the Dragonstone Noble, who we've already seen. He comes with his Sentinel, effectively free countercharge or free maneuver with a cavalry unit. Yay, nay?
Yay. It's going to be a hard choice. With limited 2 shared across the pair of them, I think you'll always see 2. It's going to be a hard choice where you put the 2. You know, do you want 2 solos or do you want one of them to be as an attachment? At one point, he seems great value.
Yeah.
I like him with Flayed Men myself. I think I'd rather have Flayed Men with the Dragonstone Noble rather than I'd have Champions of the Stag myself.
Yeah. Okay, going down the list, the Thorn Guard. Proof that for everybody, in case you can't read this, because this is the one card that's virtually unreadable, isn't it? That we've got access to. Parry. Parry is a 1-point ability. That is what they're saying now. And is parry worth 1 point? No.
Not in any units. Not in any units that they have. I don't. Renly side doesn't need more attachments with healing and defensive and reasons for you not to attack me. Renly's side doesn't need reasons for you to not want to hit me. I need attachments that make me do more damage aggressively so that you can't ignore me. Currently with the units that are out.
Or even something like, I don't know, a Sentinel Enforcer that would give your unit taunt so you have to attack me.
See, now, yeah, if you had that unit and you had that attachment in there, I'd pay a point.
Yeah.
Absolutely, end of. But I already heal. I already parry. I already do this stuff. I don't care.
Interestingly,
I want a Stormcrow Lieutenant for Sundering and +1 attack. I want other things. You know, I want other things for a point.
Francesco's saying Wardens get to throw away weakened tokens, which helps trigger parry. Yeah, you're right. Wardens do get to trigger parry more, and I worked it out for the average unit that might do 1 or 2 more wounds than it would normally. If you're genuinely looking for an attachment to do 1 or 2 wounds across the board, then you've not seen a Red Priestess. So, that's the problem, is that the comparative power level of parry versus something like, and I know Red Priestess is comparatively high, power level wise, but parry is a bad
She's
ability.
obscene for a point.
Yeah, she is. Parry is just a bad ability, and I did some numbers on it, and the average roll you'd be doing a wound, and everyone charges in this game.
Don't be sad. Don't be sad about the Barrow attachment box. I'm sure it'll have more synergies in the future as Barrows keep having they keep being incredibly synergetic. But this is overkill on the things that they already have, and this box is all about the Dragonstone Noble at the moment.
I quite like the Pikeman Captain, though, as a little bit of a shout-out. Although he doesn't help Rose Knights at all, it's the same wording on the ability. This is the same Dauntless ability that the Rose Knights have for the Restoring a Wound. What I quite like this is...
So who do you want to give it to?
Well, you can give it to Wardens to increase with the Renly cards that you've got with Embolden. You can actually sustain Wardens now.
Why pay 6 for Wardens when I can pay 7 for Rose Knights?
I agree. I'm not saying that it's like...
You don't get to double down. You don't get to do the wound for every heal that you did. There are. So I mean, okay, they have some other things in there. They have their weakened abilities, weakened tokens, and stuff like that. And yeah, 6 to 7 is actually a transition. Maybe I'll give it a second thought. You've inspired me to look at it again, but I just think that Rose Knights are a phenomenal value at 7 as base units, and you'd be very hard pressed to get something even if you custom tool set it up with the attachments that you want, you're just going to end up with a not as good unit.
I would tend to agree. One thing I would say is maybe look at Sentinels with this, because it gives Sentinels an element of sustain. With Renly side Sentinels maybe coming into the play, which could be interesting. Or even something like Renly side.
Why don't we just say cutthroats though? Cutthroats with sustain.
I agree. All right, so that's the Baratheons over and done with.
And yeah, again, Thorn Guard and Pikeman both look like they're intended for a future unit.
Well, the Thorn Guard is a unit coming out, right? They even pretty much mentioned it on stream. I think they said the Thorn Guard is coming out. I can't remember.
It seems to indicate so. He looks his artwork looks like he could almost fit into Rose Knights. Pikeman again looks like his artwork could fit into Rose Knights, but that's just because they basically put steel with green and white cloth, and it's there are only so many variants on that you can do. So they all look like they sort of could go together, which is thematic enough. So we'll see whether or not they come. But Thorn Guard look more lightly armored.
Yep. On to Targaryens, and they didn't get anything. So rip Targaryens.
Nah, nothing important at all.
Yeah.
Dragons are going to change the game. They're just going to change the game.
Let's just add her in the commander.
Daenerys,
Mother of Dragons. Boom.
Yeah.
Give it a second.
Daenerys coming in with her 3 kids, with her 3 babies. I think is going to entirely change the Targaryen faction by itself in such a way that it will change everybody else. She's changing them so much that everybody else is going to have to adapt. We'll see if they do.
I will just say, now, it's my first official time after seeing these spoilers, I called exactly the dragons. I called it exactly.
Yeah, literally 100%.
Yeah.
And Mickey definitely doesn't have any insider info.
Literally don't. But yeah, there we go.
Or maybe he does and he doesn't tell me.
Barely talk to you, never mind Simon. Right, so that's the attachments over and done with. There's all the attachment box, all the new releases. There's what we think will happen to the meta with those things. Big takeaway, the biggest meta shifting thing obviously being the mammoths and the dragons. As being units, you'd expect them to be more meta shifting than any attachment would be. But senior builders up there with the Scorpion mods for Night's Watch and the Watts Marshals and Lords of Dragonstone for Baratheons and Night Watch respectively. Big pieces there that I think are going to be really useful.
Carl's just said Stats Builder makes it so that you must include the 3 dragons if you have Mother of Dragons. Yeah, I mean, there has been back and forth on the Facebook when the very first spoilers came out. I think that it's badly worded rules. I am not 100% convinced myself that she must come with the 3 dragons for 7 points, but that in some ways is erring on the side of caution, which is I'm not going to start allowing you to build lists without using it because they could be broken lists. Whereas if I force you to always use the rule, then that is the safest thing. But also, people who are supposed to know these things, like when I said, I think this rule is badly written, they said, that's the way it is. So believe me. And I was like, okay.
Yep. And
that's...
That might be something that comes out in a future FAQ as a quick thing.
That's...
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it needs to be FAQ'd. Again, I spoke in Stats Chat about how I think that it was a massive opportunity missed. There is a massive amount of dead space on that card. You could have written all the rules you needed. They claim that the equivalent is that the free folk card, no coin beyond the wall, doesn't say that it has to be used. Well, okay, sure. But yeah, that's what we believe the rule is. We believe that it is Mother Dragon must come with 21 points of dragons. And the only version, she is the only version who can use that rule.
Yeah. Interestingly, you're right. It doesn't say it has to be used because I did know somebody was using neutrals in free folk because they never found said card in foil variant in their box. They couldn't find it. All right. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean,
we'll move on.
Yeah. Just for everybody, Daenerys is also now in the Commander Power rankings. Daenerys, both variants. You can submit games with her.
Yeah, let's
check. She out there. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure nobody submitted a result yet. So she has a 0 rating.
Mm-hmm.
So she has the rating equivalent to exactly what Targaryen rating is.
Minus 96.308. So get your first Daenerys games in there. Be the first person to lose with her. Sorry, win with her. Because you're going to win.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget, if Targaryens are more powerful than that ELO says, then now's the time to use them. Get in there early before that ELO starts shooting up. Being the first to react to the new set of changes will show that you're a better player. So, you will gain good ELO rating for doing so.
And onto that, we'll talk about some tournaments. Now, we've only got 15 minutes left, Carlo, and we have to be pretty much on time because
we shouldn't have done them, Maggie. Shouldn't have done the spoilers. So much stuff to talk about.
So much stuff. Right, we're going to race through this real quickly. Events that have ended.
Yeah.
Real quick on to the events that have ended, because that's all the news pretty much for this week. The Wolves Howling event ended, didn't it? Let's see if I can actually find it. I should have prepared this before Song of Wolf.
I'm not 100% sure if it has ended.
Oh, no, it hasn't ended.
I don't think it has.
No, it hasn't. It's got
it's still in its semi-finals, I think. I'm pretty sure Wolves Howling is still in its semi-finals. So they've got 4 players in a knockout event. Furioku did want to say a big thank you to everybody who participated, though. Obviously, particularly with the knockout event, interest starts to wane away as only 4 people are left in this event. Only 4 people are kind of engaged with it. But a really big thank you to the fact that the charity that was basically just requested as your entry fee, you could choose to pay to this charity. It generated over £100, $140, whatever it is. It's 500 Polish zloty.
Polish zlotys. I wrote these down, which is about 105 British pounds or $140. There you go. There's the exact numbers for
So that's a really brilliant thing for the community to do. Really brilliant thing for Furioku to do, putting up the prize himself and choosing that the charity would be the. Really hope that reflects well on everybody.
As a quick note, we're not going to talk about this too much, but there are 3 free folks in the remaining 4 players. Okay. The other one being a Stark. So we'll see how that one goes. All right. The next one we were going to mention was one that did come to an end, which is why I was thinking about things that have ended. It was, if I can even find it, the Malta event. First on his name, Gold on Dice event, the biggest event.
Gold on Dice.
In terms of prize pool.
Yeah. almost linked to Wolves Howling. Furioku took the win in an exciting finish against Van Van. Meaning it was quite a strong win in the end, but a really exciting game to see two big names going up head against each other, two Masters players clashing, which we'll come on into in a minute, but interesting that they clashed in that event. We're seeing the same names coming up again and again, and Furioku took that win, took the win of the event, and he has said that that will probably mean that he'll be putting up another event with another donating that prize in the future. So look out for another Wolves Howling style event that should be coming.
Yep. The interestingly, the top 5 here from all of the kind of like, well, if you count the top 6, you've got Stark, Baratheon, Stark, Lannister, Night's Watch. So good spread, kind of, but still more Stark. Interestingly, no free folk in the top 6 there, which are the people who only lost 1 or 2 games. No, just 1 a game. 1 or none. All right, okay, so that's Wolves Gold on Dice, massive event there. Obviously, grats to Bazu and the team there for getting that out. Okay.
We've seen a bit of a recent return to the Starks just taking some tournament wins. Like if you look in the Hall of Champions at the moment, we're seeing a lot of Starks again. Maybe people just got bored of the Starks after like the NRG and some other stuff. Like, you know, but like Starks are pretty dominant again. That is the story of quarter 2, quarter 3. Soon find out what the story of quarter 4 is. You know, like we'll see whether or not they survive the new changes.
Yeah, I'll do another shout out for you, Carl, seeing as you mentioned it in chat. But yeah, Lord Commander Bob or Bombs at 27 on stats, who won Call the Banners, the 50-point tournament. That I think we mentioned it last week.
Who is that pretty much lone Lannister hiding out there amongst a ton of other factions? Interestingly, a non-mountain that rides Lannister win, but it is 50 points, a little bit different. It's interesting to see that he takes the win there.
Yep.
But yeah.
Also, massive congratulations, I'll do it personally, to Lord Commander Bob for actually joining the guild. He's on the guild Discord now, so he's been chatting and sharing some tips on how to lift weights, because unlike all those ripped guys down at Sunday Slaughter, I am a weedy motherfucker. Right. All right then. Have we got any more tournaments that have ended?
That's not embarrassing myself.
That's fine. So we've mentioned all that. Oh, the Battle of Craster's Keep, which was a physical tournament in...
Yeah, another small weekend event down in Australia. They seem to have them real regular. So yeah, those guys just playing like high level names, just like all over the place. You know, we're talking about like 3 Masters players all just in a room of 6 players, and then there's another player who's a non-Masters player beating them all. You know, like there's really high level of competition down in Australia, and yeah, I think that's because they play so regularly and they play tournaments regularly. You know, this isn't just people playing casual games. Like you can play a casual game in the same way that you can play a tournament game or whatever, but just like putting the name of a tournament on it means that everybody brings their A game, brings their list, and everybody will play like 4 games in a day, 3 games in a day, and that really just sharpens people up. They're playing that on like a bi-weekly basis, and that's phenomenal to see, and it's why they're so strong.
It's a really good community, the Australian ones, and I'm going to go through the names actually individually and just give them a shout out. But the likes of Dark Angel, Fire and Blood, who I've played against, I think. Dark Angel I've played against actually. The Border, Lockie, you both played against, I believe. Death 1942, who may be visiting us in a future episode to talk about some results and things from past tournaments and understanding activations once all this calms down. Hashiman, who's appeared in a couple of tournaments. Don't know him personally, of course. And finally, Midnight, who's a big proponent of a lot of the tournaments over there. So a massive shout out to those guys, and the other ones know they're there. Doxies, KP, those kind of people, Dion and things like that as well. Not from Australia, Sydney area, but the other areas around the area. Okay, so what else have we got going on? Is that it? Have we done everything from past?
Yeah, hopefully. Well, you know, like it's all there. Go have a look. It's in the Hall of Champions. You know what? Even when you log in, I'm pretty sure. I think it works. Again, you know, I haven't tested it loads. It will give you a notification every time a tournament ends to go and tell you to have a go and look at the stats. There you go. Bang.
No, that's the Rotterdam White Scars adding a video, not someone winning stats. But still.
All right, but you'll see one of them every time a tournament ends. There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. it's still a work in progress. I'm still working on the notifications. They're a little bit odd. I'm trying.
Without trying to be like bug fixer and bug finder extraordinaire, I logged in one day and I'm pretty sure I had like 15 notifications and I was like, hang on, what the hell's happened to the page?
That's because you haven't logged in long enough.
I don't log
yeah.
out. Right. Okay. So, other tournaments. What we got? Upcoming stuff, right?
Masters. Let's talk about the Masters. That's what we were supposed to talk about first thing, Mickey. And here we are. We got 5 minutes until we're about to like stream a Masters game. So let's talk about it now. It's in progress. We're in week 2.
Yeah, we're in week 2.
8 players are left, which means that of the 16 very high profile, very good players, 8 of them are gone. 8 very, very good players got knocked out in the first round.
Yeah.
We're talking about, speaking of them both, Van, Furioku, both gone. They were up there competing for one of the biggest Gold on Dice multi-prizes, and there are players out there who've managed to take them down. Brett Lampfert knocked out, Ariakas, winner of the NRG TTS tournament, he's gone. There are Hall of Champions names left, right, and center getting felled by other brilliant players. Some slightly lesser known, newer players taking some big scalps. And tell you what's super, super, super interesting: a lot of Starks losing,
which I'm really glad about.
Glad about. Yeah. I mean, I made it very, very clear that I was picking game modes that were not favorable to Starks because I believe that Starks have an inherent advantage. And yet everybody, 50% of the tournament, still chose to go with Starks and are showing that game modes have a large effect on the outcome of a tournament. And, that Starks aren't always the best choice. But very interesting. We've lost a lot of Starks. We also lost our only Lannister and our only Night's Watch player in the first round. Mm-hmm. So we're down into Baratheons, Free Folk, and some Starks. Like,
it's big.
The Baratheons have managed to come through that first round pretty strong, actually.
Yeah. All right then. So
who do you think's going to win, Miggy?
Who do I think is going to win? So I think it's going to be European. Larks versus DeBorder. I think Larks knows the matchup better than DeBorder does. But it wouldn't surprise me if DeBorder beats him, actually. Stannis versus Spleen. Oh, bloody hell. Stannis is the kind of person who would just like crackle under any pressure, and I believe he's putting himself under pressure. But the guy also has a habit of doing really well in these knockout events. So I wouldn't put it past Stannis to beat Spleen in some kind of weird technicality way. Bazu versus Tobo Mott. I think Bazu might lose to Tobo Mott. And I'd like to think Rossi can beat Open City because I think Rossi is a very good player. But we will see. We will see this afternoon, won't we? Open City versus Rossi happening this afternoon in about 4 minutes.
We're about to watch Rossi. We're about to watch Rossi take on Open City. Yeah. It's in Here We Stand. No, Honed and Ready. Honed and Ready. That's the right words. Honed and Ready, which I actually think is a Baratheon favorite game mode.
Yep.
So I think Stannis could come through it, and Open City could come through it.
Yep.
Again, I think that they're not the most competitive. They're both. I don't think Baratheons are the most competitive faction in this tournament, but I think they're playing up into harder lists. But I think again, real chance that they might come through. So watch the game and see how it goes. I think that it'll be interesting. I think that we'll see a Renly wall played in front of a wall, and we'll see whether or not the Free Folk have the tools to take it out. I would agree. I think Larks will go quite far. I think we expect to see Larks in the final. Now that he's seen off Ariakas is almost his old nemesis. The Europeans are generally doing very strong. So are the Australians. So we'll see who comes out on the other side. Bazu has come out of nowhere in some ways, in terms of the competitive scene. So I'm not sure how far he'll go. This is one of the first really big tests for him. So interest. Like every game, I think super, super hard to call. I would like to see a Baratheon stick it out at least this round, though.
Yep. Okay then. So that's the Masters, and we will come back to the Masters. And we will review it later on I think that obviously we'll be giving you all the updates when that happens. All right, so that leaves
Yep.
us with upcoming events. There's not a huge number, unfortunately. Just to keep you updated with how we're doing.
Because we're gonna fill the hole. We're gonna fill the hole with a massive new TTS event. Everybody is gonna find out what's going on in quarter 4. Yeah.
Shall I share
Look
the
out
name?
for a big event that we're gonna run. I think we've committed to the Song of Ice and Fire TTS World Cup. Da, 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 da. Yeah, I think that's the name we're going to end with.
Yeah.
So look out for a new World Cup. Hopefully, it will be the biggest TTS event that's ever been run.
Yeah, it will. It will span every continent. Let's put it like that. It will span hopefully every region. And if you watch this later on, if you don't watch us live, it will almost certainly run in your area.
Yeah.
On that kind of note, if anybody is, looking to help run tournaments, be it on TTS or whatever, get in contact with Carlo, and I'm sure he can hook you up with kind of like some stuff to help out with the event.
So hopefully the World Cup, the bigger it is, this will hopefully help your community in your area, your local store. This isn't just like TTS, like, oh, I'll just play some random people. There will be a regional event. The prize support for that regional event, whoever plays in your local area, that money will go back into your local area. That will be your store that you play at will get that prize money. So we're giving your real physical players money back into your community. So we're just then going to bring everybody together. You get to play on TTS without having to worry about what time zone match you're going to get, because you're going to be playing in a local area to you. If we get enough players for, like a smaller local French community, German community, whatever, then you can have a regional in your own language. You get the players, you will get a big part of the tournament. Like, the more players your community generates, the bigger the part you are of the regional, and the bigger, kind of like payback you'll get. So hopefully just, spread it to your own region, and be involved, because it's going to be huge. And hopefully it'll be a staple of things to come for the whole future.
Yep, definitely so. And with that announcement there, we will end the stream. Thanks a lot for coming down, guys. We will catch you next week with another kind of more chilled, perhaps, I hope, Tournament Ground. Check out the merch where you can for NRG while you're over there. Check out the stats page, as always, guys. And we will catch you in about 5 minutes over on Northern Realms Gaming.